Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. It's a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. It's the most important news and editorial of the day that is relevant for the preparation of civil services examination will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 19th of December. The first important news, that is deepfake technologies and China's plan for regulation. Second, India's pushes for new biodiversity fund. Third, missile destroyer INS Moduga has been commercialized. Fourth, decriminalization of offense under the GST. And the last is an editorial, the sovereign undermined. So these are some of the important news and editorial for the day. Apart from the discussion of the news, there will be MCQ based questions, and these questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for upcoming examination. So without any further delay, let's get started. And before I begin the session, those of you who are new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do press a like button. So the first session of this news, deepfake technology and China's plan for regulation, something important for General Studies paper 3 under the subtopic, that is science and technology development of new technology. So what is deepfake, why this is there in the news, in contemporary context, how this can be relevant for the upcoming prelims examination, we'll understand deep down and just make you understand how the possible repercussion of this technology is going to impact the global level. The Cyber Administration of China, the country's cyberspace watchdog, is rolling out a new regulations that would be effective from January 10, 2023 to restrict the use of deep synthesis technology to curb the disinformations. Right? तो डीप सिंथेसिस टेक्नोलॉजी है, बेसिकली जो डीप फेक टेक्नोलॉजी उसकी मेन जो ब्रेन चाइल्ड है उसी के थ्रू की जाती है. डीप synthesis is defined as the use of technology which include deep learning, augmented reality to generate text, images, audio, videos and create virtual scenes. तो एक फेक ऑडियो, फेक इमेजेस, फेक वीडियोस, फेक टेक्स्ट क्रिएट की जाती है जिस टारगेट को आपको जिसकी डुप्लीकेसी करनी है. इट्स अ वेरी डेंजरस वन एंड मोस्ट ऑफ द high-end politicians, celebrities has been impacted due to this. One of the most notorious applications of the technology is deepfake, right? So deep synthesis के outcome है deepfakes, which synthesize media and used to swap the face voice of one person to another. So what it does, it basically swaps the voice and swaps the face, basically alignment, and it change as per the desired requirement. Deepfakes are getting harder to detect with the advancement of technology. I'll show you an image. Even the original image will feel like that's a duplicate one. Now, what is deepfake? If a direct question is asked in prelims examination, deepfakes आप क्या समझते हैं? Deepfakes are compilations of artificial intelligence, artificial images, right? And audio put together with machine learning algorithm to spread the misinformation and replace the real person appearance, voice, or both from the similar likeness and voice. So as the targeted individual face and voice is being replaced as per the demand whomsoever is doing so. So this is done with a malified intention, and it can create a person who do not exist, and it can fake the real people saying that what they're doing should not be doing. The term deepfake actually originated in 2017, and the users in deepfake replaced the real face with the celebrity faces. Deepfake technology is now being used as a nefarious purpose like scam, hoax, celebrity pornography, election manipulation, and social engineering. And this can also be an automated disinformation that attacks the identity theft and financial fraud at the global level. You can see these images. Now this is a real image actually, but you can see due to deepfake, this image look like this is not real. But the fake image is presented that this is 100% original, but this is actually the fake image. So this is how the deepfake technology distort the image and even distort the voice also. Now, how does the deepfake work? To give you a better understanding, this is an image that will help you understand. So original face, if you can take the example, suppose this is original face A and this is original face B. Now the encoder is there which encode this two. Latent face A is there and latent face B. The decoder add face A and here it add the face B. Now the swap actually take place and the reconstruction from face A, face from A from B, and the reconstruction take place from face B to form face A. So there's a swap of the images that is possible, and this is depending upon the target whomsoever they want to change, and this is a prerogative of the one who is doing this. So this is how actually the deepfake works. Now, global cases of deepfakes की अगर बात करें, deepfakes technology has been in use to impersonate former US President Barack Obama and Donald Trump. I have shown you the image how they actually did it. If you want to see the image, this is the image, right? So this is how they have torn the voice and even swap the voice stimulation and even the image facial expression as well. Now, Indian Prime Minister, Facebook chief, and Hollywood celebrity Tom Cruise were also the part of it. Now, China's policy to curb deepfakes, the policy require deep synthesis services provider and the users to ensure any documented content using technology that is explicitly level at can be traced back to its sources. So now what China is doing, origin जो है उसकी पता करने की कोशिश की जा रही है कि actually originators कौन है, उनको पता किया जा सके, उनको trace किया जा सके. The regulation also mandates the people using technology to edit someone's images and to notify it and take consent of the person in question. Now, deep synthesis services provide must also abide by the local laws, respect ethics, and maintain the correct political direction and correct the public opinion orientations. Now, what is the rationale for the policy's implementation? The China's cyberspace watchdog has said that it is concerned that unchecked development and the use of deep synthesis could lead to the use in criminal activities like online scam and defamation. So there is a swap between the faces and the voice pitch. It can definitely disguise many of the people, right? The country's recent move aims to curb the risk that is arising because of this platform and even use deep learning or virtual reality to alter any online content. Now, if successful, China's new policy could set an example and lay down a policy framework that other nations can also follow. So definitely it is an inception from Chinese end, and once it is successful, the global practice will also come into action, and many countries will definitely obtain a policy framework that how they can also curb the nuances of the deep. Now, countries that is actually working towards combating the deepfakes, European Union has updated the code on practice to stop the spread of the deepfake and through the disinformation through the deepfakes. The code of practice was signed in October 2018 by online platform like Facebook, Google, Twitter, Mozilla, by their advertisement and other player in the advertisement industries. The revised code requires the tech companies, including the Google, Meta, and Twitter, to take measures to counter the deepfake and fake accounts in their platform. So these entity or these company will be looking with highly cautious to ensure that their platform is not being used for any other terrorism activities by distorting the celebrity faces. In July last year, the US introduced a bipartisan Deep Task Force Act to assist the Department of Homeland Security to encounter the deepfake technology. And India, there is no legal rule against the deepfake technology. इंडिया की अगर स्पेसिफिकली बात करें तो यहाँ पे कोई रेगुलेशन नहीं है अभी तक because there's no standard procedure at the global level also. Moving to the other news, that is India pushes for new biodiversity fund. This particular news is important for General Studies paper 2, that is bilateral regional grouping and agreement involving India and affecting India's interest. At the same time, this is also important for General Studies paper 3, where conservation, environmental pollution, degradation and EIA is concerned. During the UN Biodiversity Conference in Canada, Montreal, India called for an urgent need to create the new and dedicated fund to help developing countries for the successful implementation of the post-2020 global framework and to halt and reverse the biodiversity loss. So India, in its proactive role, has come up with an agenda and called for a need for creation of a dedicated fund. Now, India said that the conservation of the biodiversity must be also based on the common but differentiated responsibility with their respective capabilities. This is also known as CBDR, as a climate change impact in nature. Very, very important topic for your prelims examination, as well as a direct question can be framed in the mains. आपसे analytical सवाल यहाँ पे पूछे जा सकते हैं. Now, as per 196 parties of the Convention of the Biodiversity that finalized the negotiations of the Global Biodiversity Framework, a new set of goal has been set to halt and reverse the biodiversity losses. There has been a repeated call for the inclusion of CBDR, that is the common but differentiated responsibility and respective capabilities in the principle of finance related targets. Now, Global Environment Facility की अगर बात करें, this is known as GEF, which caters the multi-conventional, including the UNFCCC and UN Convention on Combat Desertification that have remained only to the funding of the biodiversity conservation. Now, CBD COP15 की बात करें, जहाँ पे developing countries have been demanding for a new dedicated fund, stating that the existing multilateral sources has not up tasked the meeting for the requirement GBF. And at COP15, the parties are also trying to achieve the consensus to eliminate subsidies that is harmful to the environment, such as subsidies for the fossil fuel, agriculture, forestry, fishes, and at least 500 billion annually using the money for the biodiversity conservation. So this is how it will actually function. And if we're talking about COP27, right? अगर COP27 की बात की जाए, यहाँ पे जो loss and damage fund बनी है, that is very important and very significant. Now, again, the CBDR, that is the common but differentiated responsibility and respective capabilities, has established as the seventh principle of Rio Declaration, which was adopted during the Earth Summit in 1992. And CBDR is defined as a state having common but differentiated responsibility in view that different contributors to the global environment degradation. तो हर एक कंट्रीज ने अपने एंड से डिक्रिमिनल इन्वायरमेंटल कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस किए हैं, तो उनकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी उसी हिसाब से बनती है कि वो अपने रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी को आगे बढ़ करके पूरा करें, एंड इवन दे शुड कम अप विद द फंड दैट इज एसेंशियली रिक्वायर्ड टू कंपनसेट. However, applying the CBDR principle to the biodiversity conservation has not been straightforward as compared to the climate negotiation, and there has been repeated disagreement between the global north and south. Now, moving to the other news, missile destroyer INS Moduga has been commercialized, something important for General Studies Paper 3, various security forces, agencies and their mandate. And this particular news might be important for General Studies Paper 2 as well, where government policies and intervention are concerned. Recently, the Seagate guided missile destroyer Moduga was commercialized in Indian Navy. This is the fourth Seagate missile destroyer that has been built under the Project 15. Project 15 की अगर बात करें, यहाँ पे 4 guided missile destroyer बनाने की बात की गई है under the construction that is there at the Moduga Dock Shipbuild Limited in Mumbai. The warship commercialized will boost India's maritime power. The contract for the construction of these forces was actually signed in 2011. According to the expert, Indian economy is among the top 5 economies in the world that will be among the top 3 2027. Now, about the INS Moduga, is the most technology advanced warship. Is the second of the fourth that is there in the Visakhapatnam class destroyer, indigenously designed and developed by Indian Navy, an in-house organization of the warship design bureau and construction by the Moduga Dock Shipbuilder Limited. So this is a classical example of India's Indianization manufactures for the INS. The warship is packed with a sophisticated state-of-art weapons and sensors such as surface-to-air missile and surface-to-air missile. One is surface-to-surface missile and other is surface-to-air missile. It is fitted with a modern surveillance radar which provide target data towards secondary weapons on board. It is propelled by 4 power gas turbine, has enhanced the seat features and is equipped with the BrahMos cruise missile as well. So this is the image, the official image that was released. Yes. D3067 model is this. Now, moving to the other news, decriminalization of offences under the GST. Something important for General Studies Paper 3, that is Indian economy and issues related to planning, mobilization, resource, growth, and development. Now, the recent 48 GST Council meeting, chaired by the Finance Minister, has recommended to decriminalize certain provisions and offences under Section 132 of the Goods and Services Act 2017. Some of the recommendations for facilitations of trade include the increased threshold of the amount for the tax for prosecutions, reducing the compounding amount in the GST. So this was a long debated topic, and even for several meetings in the GST, this was talked about. Now, what was previously decriminalized under the GST? So since the implementation of the GST, there has been significant increase in the tax evasions. और बहुत सारे ऐसे न्यूमरस टैक्स के केसेस रिपोर्ट किए गए हैं where multiple strategies were adopted to avoid indirect tax coming up to the light. The tax authorities are actively using technology and data from e-way bills and GST return to the tax evasions. The GST law established as stringent penalties and guidelines that taxpayer must abide in order to ensure smooth intra-state and interstate trade for the goods and combat corruptions to maintain an effective tax collection. तो गवर्नमेंट ने अपने इनसे इंटर स्टेट और इंट्रा स्टेट की जो ट्रांजेक्शन्स है गुड और सर्विसेज की उसको एक इफेक्टिव टैक्स कलेक्शन के दायरे में सिस्टम में लाने की बात की है. Now, offences under the GST that attracts the IPC and CRPC, that is Indian Penal Code and Criminal Procedure Code. So under the Central GST Act, if a group of 2 person or more person agrees to commit an illegal act or tax evasion or fraud, they are held liable under the criminal conspiracy. So the process of Section 120 that the Indian Penal Code define and the criminal procedures and conspiracy, Section 120B deals with the punishments of the same. और Section 46 में the Code of Criminal Procedures deal with letters how to make an arrest. तो ये सारी details जो है GST's laws के अंदर incorporate की गई हैं with the aid from the IPC and CRPC. Section 69 of the GST Act provide the power to arrest any person by an order to commercialize whether he believes that the person has committed any offense under this section. And the Section 65 of the CRP deals with the search by the police officers, while Section 67 of the GST Acts define that only officers not belong to the rank of Joint Commissioner can authorize in writing in inspection or any search activities. तो ये कुछ CRPC और IPC के जो रूल्स हैं जो खास करके GST के ऑफेंसेस में भी एप्लीकेबल होंगे. Now, recommendations to decriminalize certain offences. The 48th Council meeting has recommended various measures to decriminalize GST offences. उनमें से कुछ है raising the minimal thresholds of the amount by launching prosecutions under the GST from 1 crore to 2 crore. This is one change. Except the offences of the issuance of invoice without the supply of goods and services or both. Reducing the compounded amount from the percentage range of 50% to 150% and tax amount ranging to 25% to 100%. Decriminalizing certain offences specified under Section 132 of the CGST, such as obstructions or prevention of any officers from doing its duties, deliberating, tempting the material evidence, and failure to supply the informations. Now, recommendations to facilitate trade. The two major recommendations that is there. First is refunding the unregistered person. Second is facilitating e-commerce for the micro enterprises. There are no procedures for the claim or refund of the tax borne by the unregistered buyers. In case अगर contract है, agreement है, supply of services की, like construction, flat of houses, long-term insurance, this is cancelled and the time period of insurance credit not to be concerned when liability is over. The Council recommended an amended CGST rule of 2017 along with an issuance circular to provide procedures for filling applications and refund the unregistered buyer in the case. So this is in two example where the refund of unregistered person and second is facilitating the e-commerce. So about the e-commerce, the GST in 47th meeting has also granted in personal approval, allowing the unregistered suppliers and composition taxpayer to make intrastate supply through goods and services and e-commerce operational subject to certain conditions. तो यहाँ पे उनके लिए भी obligations होंगी. And the council approved the amendment in GST Act and the GST rules along with the issuance of relevant notifications to enable the same. Now, moving to the editorial of the day, that is the sovereign undermined, something important for general studies paper 2, under the subtopic government policies and intervention for the development of various sectors and issues arising from a design and implementations. So what is the theme of this editorial? The theme is the draft data bill, and the major issues are the major stakeholder of the bill, the penal provision, the sovereign right, and a conclusion part. India is at the defining moment of country's trajectory to take leadership role in Industrial Revolution 4.0. This is the next revolution that India will be the part of it. And at this point of juncture, we need to take control of the data and information emerging out of Indian consumer and help younger mind to process it and develop an artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and robotics while respecting the individual privacy. The draft bill, that is the Digitalized Personal Data Bill 2020, released by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, appears to be well intended in a correct directions. Now, major stakeholders की अगर बात करें इस bill की, the bill has two major stakeholders. The first is the data principal and the data fiduciary. Data principal की अगर बात करें, subject to the data that is being processed, and data fiduciary is an entity that processes the data. The entity that is involved in the processing of data is known as data fiduciary. The term fiduciary vis refers to the processor in a significant, and the term originates from the Latin word fiducia or the trust. Now, in line with the philosophy, the rest of the bill describes the obligations, the data fiduciaries towards the data principal, and the right and duties with the later on and regulating framework with data need to be processed. Now, penal provisions की अगर बात करें, the draft, however, does not require fine-tuning, including determining the quantum of penalties whose upper ceiling is fixed at 500 crore rupees. And there are a global example where the penalties is determined at volume and as percentage of their global revenues as well. Now, United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, जैसे and CAT भी कहते हैं, has a part in it say that it is important for the countries to control their data to be available and use shared data to regulate its flows. Now, sovereign right की अगर बात करें, India need to assert its sovereign right over the non-personal data and emerging out of Indian citizen and make it obligatory to share the product with an Indian player and a small e-commerce firm, startup, growing agencies, and even the general public and research. Now, it is though the route that we can become the digital superpower. Definitely, India can become that. Once the regulation is put in place down the line, we can see this achievement coming to India. Chapter 4 of the draft deal with the transfer of data outside the country. Now, to conclude this part, you can just conclude in a way that there are a lack of awareness and sensitivity among the Indian about the data privacy, and they need to have more personal data. There's a greater need for the safeguard, increased interest of data sovereignty, nationalism, localization of the non-personal data. The draft must be appreciated for keeping the government and distance seeking exemption, and it is only a specific cases related to national security, maintaining the public order and investigation. तो अगर नेशनल सिक्योरिटी की बात है तो डेटा को गवर्नमेंट अपने पास लॉ एनफोर्समेंट एजेंसीज के साथ भी शेयर कर पाएगी. Now, being its stronger provisions, the sovereign ownership of the non-personal data should also be taken care of. So there's a whole gamut of things that need to be taken care by the law enforcement agencies as well as the law implementator and the government in a longer run. So this is the conclusion part. Now moving to the question of the day, MCQ questions. Before I proceed, just to tell you the answer of yesterday questions. For first question, the correct option is C. For second question also, the correct option is C. Today's MCQ practice, OSMR recently seen in news, is related to aims to regulate ocean, sea, marine resources and sustainable development, strategic partnership with IEA to promote transparency in jute sector, to liquidity risk monitoring tool for the share market or the stock market. Second is the International Energy Agency. The World Outlook report is released by IEA annually. India is not an associate member of IEA. So do check it out for the correct option. This type of contemporary cum current relevant question might be relevant for the upcoming prelims examination. This was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis, followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other concern, you can let me know. I'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.